Hump day. It is Wednesday, November 6th, and you are watching This Week in Moto from around the world. I'm going to talk about why motocross is becoming great again. It's going to be more affordable. We're also going to talk about some of the things that the Deegans said that may sway you to become a fan. I will get into that as well, along with what happened at the World Vet Championships, MotoGP, MXGP guys that jump in ship, and also, unfortunately, some tracks closing down. So this is going to be an incredible show. So to start it off, because economically, we all know that, man, dirt bikes are 10 grand to 15 grand. And to go down to the bike shop, you're like, sweet, what can I finance? They're like, oh, you're too broke to be able to finance anything. And if you even could finance something, well, you're going to have to finance this at 8%. So the payment you're thinking, you're going to get a new motorcycle for, $500 to $600 a payment out the door. That's pretty good, right? No, absolutely. That is not cool. Just a few years ago, our interest rates were 2-ish%. And so let me just get into some of this stuff. So look at this. Bitcoin is at $74,000. Look at this Trump candle, 9%. And if we look around America, the S&P 500 is up 2%. Dow Jones is 3%. Some of the index funds over in Europe are down. And why are they down? Well, they're all bummed because of all the tariffs that are going to happen here in America. And why is this good for us? Yes, motorcycles, like I said, are incredibly freaking expensive right now. The just amount of just inflation that has happened has been ridiculous. And yes, there's going to be still continuing printing money. And so prices are going to potentially still go up. That's just how the world seems to run these days, unless we have an influx of less spending. That's why Elon Musk going in there as far as to try to hold on taxation is going to be great. But what is Trump going to do for us dirt bike guys, right? We're going to have lower insurance. That's good for the tracks because we had one, Lake Elsinore, end up closing down. And I talked to the guys that own Paris, they're saying, hey, we might have to close down as well because our freaking payments went up by 10 grand a year, which those are just the premiums that I'm talking about. What is Trump going to do? Well, he is going to drill. He's going to drill for energy here in America so that we're not freaking importing all this energy. We can start using our own. That's what's right here. And because we're going to keep energy costs down, the gasoline prices are going to go down. Your grocery bills are going to go down. So what could you go do? You could go afford a damn new 2025 new YZ450 because that seems to be the bike that everybody wants to buy. Currently, I kind of want a Stark, but we won't get into that. Anyway, I could. I absolutely could. But, anyway, right? Hey, everyone is super happy with the Trump day. Yes, but this is great for Moto as well. What else is he going to do? He's going to cut taxes, okay? That's going to make it cheaper to go get a motorcycle. And interest rates. The FOMC meeting is today. They're probably going to cut rates by 0.25, which, again, is going to help us because you're not going to walk out the door with an 8% interest rate on a $12,000 bike, right? There is basically it's a $100 deduction on every 100,000 per 1%. Like I won't get into the little semantics when it comes to that, but those are going to be great, along with the tariffs for the rest of the world having to pay to export their goods out of America, right? To try to keep stuff in here. But there's one thing that I wanted to share here because this guy right here, the UFC owner, Dana White, what he said.
He's the most resilient, hardworking man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelt boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, also with the boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
Oh my God. Heck yeah. Go Dana White. Talk about two bigwigs that are in business together. That is just really cool to see. And this is This Week in Moto, and we're talking about it because this is economic. And that's exactly what's going to help us, because you want to make your hobby just go fun, right? So it needs to be more effing affordable. So the resilience of Donald Trump is amazing. He was impeached twice. He was stuck up in courthouses for freaking 6+ weeks. Couldn't campaign, do that sort of stuff. He was tried to be assassinated twice. Like, come on, you know? And that's why the rest of the world's kind of freaking out because of the tariff that's going to happen. This is freaking good for Moto. So part of the reason as to why everybody is happy about this, well, here, MXGP, here's the CEO, and he's talking about some of the stuff. And guess who's leaving? Guess which riders are leaving MXGP in Europe and wanting to come over here? Not too long ago, Hurling said that, hey, if I had the opportunity, I'd be going over to America as well. Well, you got Koulis, that's coming over here. Prado, that's going to stay over here. Harrop, he's coming over here. The Coonan brothers, potentially, are coming over here. Tom Vial is over here. Why are they doing that? Well, one of the reasons why they're doing that is because 5 teams have left the paddock in MXGP. They can't afford it. Why can't they afford it? Well, because the cost of everything has gone up when it comes to fuel, to groceries, to whatever. So as far as here in America, things are going to get so much better for us, and the markets are responding to it. Just like that, the stock market up 5% and Bitcoin up 10%. People are happy about who is in office. And what the CEO of MXGP says is, he basically says, well, that's just what happens. It leaves rooms for the better teams to show up. I'm like, okay, that's a very PR type of a response. And then, you know, Gate Drop also asked them, hey, is there still no plans for prize money to be put in place? And Lagongo says, we have discussed this question many times. Many years ago, we invest into the promotion of the championship, TV media coverage, infrastructure, youth championships to allow a lot of young riders to grow into World MX Championship. And also, several millionaire riders have come through our pyramid system. Well, you're forcing KTM and Honda and them to pay for this stuff. And, you know, the market director of KTM said that there's honestly too many races. They're spending too much money getting to all this stuff, right? Because again, the cost of living, inflation, that sort of thing, right? So they need to have taxes being lower and energy here in America. So very, very interesting that for MXGP, there's no price money whatsoever. So why are those guys jumping ship? They are jumping ship to come over to America. Yeah, we bitch and moan about added this $13 million influx that should have happened a hell of a long time ago. But there's a saying that strong men create weak men, and no. Strong men create good times create weak men, and then weak men create bad times. Well, right now we are on the precipice of a bunch of weak SOBs making the world a worse place, because all we can do is just piss and moan about woke economics and all this mumbo jumbo stuff, right? So yes, my point being is, with the influx of $13 million in Peacock and NBC, it's been good for the sport. The riders are making more money. These guys that are, you know, the Jerry Robbins of the world that should be making $100,000 a year are getting darn close to it for finishing 20th at the SMX World Championships. And the prize money is $1 million for the winner and $500,000 for the 250 guys. And last place of those, you know, truthfully, I do think that the 250 prize money should be double, because I think like 20th place was something like, gosh, what was it? Like $4,000 or something, which wasn't that lot, but still, right? Compared to MXGP, where there is zero money going around. You know, I had one of the MXGP riders on here, and they are doing it all themselves, being a privateer. And I'm like, how in the world are you going to do that? So, Jan, man, hats off to you. I hope you get a factory team. And he was actually in the MXGP, not the MX of Nations. It did incredibly well. So, Pankar, power to you, my friend. And just a little bit to turn gears, okay? I found this on the internet that was very enlightening, okay? This was done by Alpine Stars, and there's a few things that I want to point out here, because love these guys or hate these guys, they have innovated the sport, and it's been through hard work. So I will comment on what Brian and both little Hayden say, because they impressed me with what they said. So let's just listen and I'll comment on it.
Makes the best parts, the best coaches, the best tracks. Of course he's going to be the best, right? I'm like, okay, you think he's the only one that's had that? Right? You don't think there's other hundreds of kids in the pits with badass rigs and rich parents? Like,
yeah, dude, that right there was so incredibly epic, because Brian Deegan didn't say, hey, yeah, my kid didn't come up with special treatment. He's like, hell yeah, he did, because of my hard ass decided to work my effing ass off, and I was able to provide for my kids, right? But you really think that I'm the only one that has done that? And I got to think to myself, like, yeah, you know, you go down to any of the races nowadays, there's always, you see this Class A motorhome and you're going, that thing is $350,000. This kid rolls out 3 brand new 50s, you know, and then a 2 new 65s that he's not even tall enough to ride yet. And you're like, wow, man. Yeah. So pretty cool that he admits it, but it's just like, dude, it's, so did everyone else. You know, don't get mad at me because I was able to provide for my kids. And listen to what Deegan says.
Definitely. I mean, it's hard for a kid that's grown up with some money and got stuff from his parents to be fine with suffering. Like, I honestly, there's no reason I mean, I could be living with live with the family off their money and stuff, but I want to make my own money. I want to succeed.
Right there was so powerful. Right there. Hayden Deegan. Love him or hate him, you got to respect. A gun recognizes a gun. Okay. What he just said there is, he said that, yeah, my parents have made a whole lot of money, but you know what? I want to make my own damn money, and I could go hang out at the beach and live off my parents' money. But you know what? I'm staying late, going early, right? He's doing everything he can to become a champion, along with a lot of the negativity that the internet comes to, because there used to be a world where you had a problem with somebody, you just go up there, you punch them in the face, you guys are all good. But the internet, no, you can hide behind all these screens nowadays and you could say whatever you want, even if it comes from a more of a loving kind of a way, right? You know, because truthfully, I think a lot of the hate on the internet comes from admiration rather than in just sheer evil, I would say. But here, I'm getting more to this because this was incredibly enlightening. Okay, so here, let me just move forward here and we'll listen.
But, you know, so how do you protect your kids against that, which is very difficult? The best way, too, is just explain it to them that, hey, man, this is all people's opinions. And usually when people have something negative to say, it's because they're hurting inside from something previous in their life. It's not anything you're doing, it's their problem. And I go, very rarely will you see someone on your level or higher than your level in life that will criticize you. I grew up when my mom left and I went on life. I grew up with hatred. I had it in me. Like, I was living the militia life for 10 years.
All right, I'm saying a lot of this video here, so I'm probably going to get demonetized and something. So Alpine Stars, this is literally out of love for what you did. So don't copyright strike me. What Brian Deegan is saying there is, he's saying that I was the dude. I was Metal Militia. I was the king of shit talking. And you know what? After having kids and a family, I was able to change my point of view with new information. Having the ability to change your outlook is incredibly important in life. And these guys are a perfect example for that. Like, Moto is better for having this happen with the father-son dynamic, which is, it's so wrong on so many levels. Like, you know, I have had my own experiences, right, that have shaped me becoming biased about certain stuff that, you know, I had to realize that, hey, I was kind of being biased about stuff. But then Hayden's mom says this, and this also really touched me. So here, this is the final thing, and then I'll get more on some of the harsher stuff that happened this week in Moto.
Family unit together. I feel like that's where a lot of it goes wrong, because I feel like, I mean, you've got them this far through those amateur ranks, which are very hard. Like, why would you stop now when they go pro? Like, you need to keep that, like, unit going. And I feel like having mom and dad there, you know, a lot of these kids get sent off on their own, and then they're like eating out every night, junk food, and not having the right proper nutrition. They're still only 18. It's not like, oh, they're 18, it's like send them off to college. Yeah.
She is absolutely right about that. I feel silly by not even thinking of it, because most of the factories, once you get a big sponsorship, it's like, okay, you're 16. Dad, I know you've invested so much time and effort into this kid. We can't have you anymore. Back burner, right? We're going to hear. So he's a 16-year-old that's like, okay, cool. I just got $1 million contract. I'm going to go get a penthouse, and I'm going to go buy the Lamborghini that I want, depending upon what state will give me a driver's license. And woo, heck yeah, man, I'm living the dream. But you're still an adolescent, right? You still need your parents there as guidance, right? They're not 18 yet. That's why I've been a big proponent on not getting your pro license until 18, along with the longevity of the riders like Roxon and Tomac and Nicoletti and so many guys that have had prolonged careers above the age of 30. Before, yeah, there was the consensus of you get turned pro at 15, aka James Stewart, Ricky Carmichael. You retire at 26, Dungey, Villapoto, Carmichael, James Stewart, because you just don't have that long of a career. Things have definitely been changing. But what she said, as far as they still need their parents' guidance, is so important. But that's not really where the ideology of the sport goes. Usually the sport goes with, now we're going to take over basically the parenting of the kid now that he has a full-time job at 16. No wonder why these guys get burnt out and want to quit. And then us fans look at these guys like, why is that guy so harsh? Why does he look like he hates his life? And, why, right? Because there's a little bit of the lack of guidance there. And yeah, is there maybe some speculation going in there? But anyway, you get my point. This is This Week in Moto. Appreciate everybody that is in the chat room and commenting. Love you guys all. Deegan puts in the work. His skills are incredible. Yeah. And is he the most talented guy? Not, I wouldn't say he's a James Stewart, but you know what? Hard work pays off. And that's what his family proves. So continuing on, okay, talking about the track, Lake Elsinore. Jeremy McGrath, they had this big Lake Elsinore GP that now they have to cancel. And they're saying that the landowners cannot come to terms with management. And this was blindside information. We just received this notification days ago, and they're going to start refunding everyone. And they say the city of Lake Elsinore has nothing to do with this situation. It is strictly the landowners. And so this is interesting because there's been so much stuff that has gone on in this sport. We all sign waivers, right? Private, I own my brother owns a track, and we have guys sign waivers in case they get hurt. But the issue is like, does that not hold up in court anymore? Because for some context here, let me get into the actual situation that happened. Why is this now an ad? I don't want to look at that. Gosh. Okay. So here, listen to this.
Motorsports Park in Lake Elsinore, where a 9-year-old girl died back in June, has announced it will be closing after the family of that little girl filed a wrongful death lawsuit. That little girl was hit by another motorbike, also being driven by a child. The family at the time called it a freak accident, but they have now filed suit. The Motorsports Park says the property owner has terminated their agreement because of the lawsuit. Tomorrow, there will be a gathering for...
That's really, really sad. So number one,
finally tonight is the race.
Believe what ended up happening was there was a kid out there that was going backwards on a track. He was on the 50 track when he shouldn't have been. I believe he was told a couple times that he shouldn't be there. And unfortunately, this little girl hit him head on. And it was so sad. I had a live show on here. I cried about it. My condolences go out to the family. That is so, so sad. And so my understanding of the situation is that it's not fact, right? That these guys filed a wrongful death suit and, against the city of Lake Elsinore. And then Lake Elsinore goes, hey, this is actually the property owners who the track is leasing from. And then the property owners are going, hey, well, we need help for some compensation for this stuff as well. And unfortunately, the waivers don't hold up in court if you have a half decent lawyer, which is scary, right? Because what happened a few years ago with Brian Moreau, where he ended up breaking his neck and getting paralyzed during a qualifying session because the flaggers and them picked up Brian and put him in the four-wheeler or whatever asterisk medical crew thing was there. And, essentially you sign waivers for racing professional motocross. You know, you go through a lot of other stuff, but it's kind of concerning to see that like this stuff isn't holding up as it should, right? You sign that waiver saying like, hey, if I hurt myself, that's under me. But now this track is closing down as well. And partially, yes, there is so much money being spent on insurance premiums. And that's why with this SOB in office, this guy right here is going to make it more affordable, especially for the business owners, right? The middle class need to become stronger because let's face it, what is our sport? Is our sport a upper class football, soccer, baseball? No, I would argue that it's right around that middle class, right? But is it incredibly expensive? Yes, it is incredibly expensive to go buy a bike for 12 grand and a helmet for $800, set of boots for $600. You know, like that's a lot, right? Fill up your motorcycle for $30 every time. You know, the track fees are honestly, they are not up to par with what they should be charging. Truthfully, tracks should be charging you $60+ because of the heavy equipment that they have out there, the water that they're doing for the tracks. Like there's a lot going on with the safety personnel. A $30 ride day is incredibly cheap. But here, getting out of some of the, I would say, bad stuff, right? I want to thank Coach Rob with CoachRobStore.com with his energy fuel. He has a new sweat analysis program that will put you to what is the proper fueling for you, because you need to have proper calories and carbohydrates for the duration of when you're exercising. I'm a big fan of the energy fuel. I love watermelon and pink lemonade. So make sure you go to CoachRobStore.com and sign up for his sweat analysis, and you'll be able to know exactly what type of electrolyte drink you should have. That is not just sugar. It has calories in there as well, what you need. Moving on with the MotoGP. This race in Malaysia was epic, was freaking epic between Pecco and Jorge Martin. And was it Bagnaia that ended up winning the actual race? Yes, he ended up actually winning the race. And we have one more race here in about 7 days for the championship. And that is going to be in Barcelona. But look at this freaking photo. Try to spot Jorge Martin, right? This is like the Bubba Scrub. I want to say that Martin is basically kind of like the James Stewart of motocross. I mean, you've got Marc Marquez here, who's always been dragging elbows, but look at the angle right here. There he is. Okay. So you got the defending champ, then Marc Marquez, and then there's Martin. Woo! Just freaking hauling ass, just going right underneath there. Freaking incredible. You also had the Australian Supercross that happened for, I believe this was this round 3? This might have been round 3 that happened here, because they have so many double headers. But seeing the time lapse of what they do for the stadiums is just mind blowing. And we also had the eventual winner here with Savachi having the barrier, because I'm not a huge fan of these over unders because of just that. Like we've seen some issues, like Dean Wilson ended up getting a foot peg in his butt because of one of these things. But it was nice to see that they have some, fences here that saved his ass, because that could have been way, way worse. But as far as the results going here, Joey Savachi is winning, right? With Dean Wilson close behind. Then you got Luke Clout. And the guy that I really wanted to see do well is Matt Moss with his new CDR Yamaha. He's had some issues with a crash. He had a gnarly crash there as well. I'm glad he is okay. And moving on to the Vet Nationals that was here. I have some interesting views on the whole Glen Helen phenomenon. I mean, I believe there was at one point, there was like 75 guys on the track at one time. And certain people were like, hey, this isn't okay, because that's just too many people, right? 40-ish, 50 guys is the max of what you should have on a motocross track at one time. That's why the staggered start is kind of difficult. But when you have so many guys showing up, there's only one way to get them all done, only on a 2-day event. So I understand that. But there was an individual that got paralyzed by Michael Alessi in 2021 because they decided to have the 30 plus 125 pro class go with the 50 senior class, which just blows my mind that you put those two together. Michael Essie with guys that are seniors just doesn't do anything, right? Hopefully you learn your lesson, but after hearing 75, like there we go. Yeah, great track. Should it be a national? Absolutely, because just that. It is a professional track. You go there, you go down those hills, you know exactly what I'm talking about as how rough and rutted and scary that track can be. But in some interesting news here, I got to zoom this in so that we can see Stark Futures. Boom! With Trevor Stewart come out and win the 25 plus class with a second, first, and first against the motocross action host, Josh Mosman, right? We all know his brother, but he's basically been winning there most of the rest of the years. He goes 1-2-2. Woo! Good for Trevor and Stark, and honestly, awesome for Glen Helen for allowing the Stark to race against its counterparts that honestly, it's sort of a cheater bike, and we know why. But if I look at where's the 30 plus? Okay, there's no. Where's the pro Saturday? Ryan Moraes and Mike Brown ended up with, and Dennis Stapleton, Chris Kiefer, that dude knows how to freaking ride. He does a great job with testing. He's got a YouTube channel now where he does some testing. Highly recommend. Where is the 30 plus pro Sunday? Phil Nicoletti, right? Filthy Phil, the guy that's flipping off everybody, ends up winning that. Kind of need to find out what happened with Moto 1, where they ran out of time or something because they only had the 2 Moto format. And then Michael Essie with 2-3. Pretty freaking cool there for, I would say, Glen Helen, the Vet World Championship, and Triumph. Okay, Triumph is swinging with the fences with their new Supercross with Austin Faulkner and Jordan Smith, which that's a good one. Honestly, I put more money on Jordan Smith winning races than Austin Faulkner because unfortunately his track record says differently, says that he's going to get hurt within the first 3 races or at some point, right? He almost, maybe I should take that back because he almost did win the series, right, last year, okay? He had some unforeseen circumstances that happened, but it was somewhat his fault, right? He was riding and he couldn't see. Jordan Smith and then Styles Robertson, where, wild card for sure. And then Jalik Swoll, another wild card. Should have had a few more podiums for Triumph last year. But that is what I have for this week in Moto, right? Okay, so Maverick says Stark is a cheater bike. We all know why, but well done letting it race in main class WT. Yeah, it's fast as F, right? But honestly, if you go to any amateur national, there's cheater bikes. Cheater bikes in the stock class, they're bored out, they're stroked out, they're running race fuel, they got a pipe, etc. A kit suspension. That's all cheating. And there's a saying that I believe pretty much goes through motocross: is it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, because it's expensive to protest you. We all saw what happened at Loretta with the Deegan phenomenon, right? I doubt Deegan's bike was the only one that was modded out. I almost guarantee it. Okay. So that's my point. That's my point. So the Stark, I love to see it. I love to see it. The maintenance on it is very cheap. I've got a lot to say about it, but that's not what I am saying here. And Cozy says Bitcoin 74,605. Actually, you know what? It is now at 74,555. Go Bitcoin. Go Bitcoin. Getting disconnected from the banks. Be your own bank is that stuff. How do I get back to this? But and what does Maverick? Best wishes. Johnny Round was in my backyard hometown. Riders did say the track was a little sketchy. Yeah, I can see that. They've been a little sketchy for a few times. Okay, Tom is also, electric bikes will put a lot of people and parts out of the industry or out of business. There's a saying, innovation is key to success. Look at Kodak. They owned the entire market cap of pictures. But you know what? People got tired of going to Walgreens to get their little pictures, right? They didn't want to keep up with the digital cameras and everything, and so they went out. It's innovation, right? Just like what we see Racer X and everyone coming to the internet start doing videos like this because it's innovating. We're getting away from magazines. It's innovation. The people that will be successful are the pro circuits that end up, I don't know, they innovating to something that would work in the future as far as bikes. It's going to be a little while though. It's going to be a little while. We are first going to see a full electric class is what we are going to see, right? And can we make Moto great again? Yes, with the presidential Trump and also Elon Musk and JD Vance is going to help for sure, right? The stock market is saying as much, at least here in America. They are voting with their money, right? Boom. Besides Europe, they are down today because they are scared about the taxation on the importing and exports of goods because we are wanting to bring everything back to the United States. So everyone, I want you to have a good Trump Day, hump day. Make sure you like and subscribe. This was This Week in Moto from around the world. I appreciate every single one of you. And now it is a snow day here in Colorado. So I'm going to go be a family man and go spend a couple $100 to buy a bunch of snow stuff because I was in Arizona, so we don't have anything. I'm going to go make some effing snowmen in my front yard with my little girl. Till next time. Ba-ra-da-da-da-da.